history of U.S. gymnastics, no man has ever won 4 national all-around titles until John Roethlisberger accomplished the feat when he dominated the field by over 3.5 points at this year's Nationals. He'll likely lead the U.S. team at this year's World Championships in Japan in their attempt to qualify for the next Olympics. But he can't do it alone. For that, he'll need help from the best of the field vying for each of the 7 spots on the squad heading across the Pacific Ocean. Today we're in the capital of the Lone Star State inside the Frank Irwin Center for the 1995 McDonald's World Team Trials. Now let's take a look at our standings after the first rotation of optionals in today's competition. John Roethlisberger, to no one's surprise, still holding a comfortable lead over Mihai Baju. We go right now to performance by John Roethlisberger over on the high bar, and Bart Connor. This is an event that he should be good at.
Well, John, as you know, won the national championships 4 times. No other American has done that here at the USA Gymnastics Championships. He's really a rock for the U.S. team. He has an interesting routine. He has a couple of unusual combinations in one-arm giant swings, a big release, and a very unique dismount.
25 years of age, out of Minnesota. His father, Fred, also an Olympic athlete at the 1968 Games in Mexico City.
I believe John is really well coached. I think Fred has done a terrific job at honing John's consistency. He's always there, ready to play. He plays hurt, but he always delivers for the U.S. team. Nice work. Watch this combination here now. Full over, one-arm giant swing to a nice release. Full over again. Watch this. Second release. Nicely done. John's beefed up the level of difficulty in this routine a little bit. That's going to be good for the U.S. program. Watch this dismount. This is unusual. Over the top. Nailed it. This guy's an animal.
Solid performance. A solid fist in the air, certainly triumph in the air for John Roethlisberger, 3 times the NCAA all-around champion, the first male ever to earn that distinction. Clearly the nucleus of this year's USA squad.
He really has been a rock for the team for about the last 5 years. Several world championship squads. Of course, he was in the Olympics in Barcelona. Take a look at this nice combination. That's the full over to the one arm, right to a release move. Well done. The dismount is quite unique. He goes over the top of the bar. Double front with 1.5 twists. Well done.
And the score for John Roethlisberger, a very substantial 9.8. Good marks in the optional rounds for John. The next athlete on that same apparatus, the youngest member of the 1992 Olympic team, Jair Lynch, Stanford University. He hails from Washington, D.C. Currently 23 years of age. He's working for Silicon Graphics in the Silicon Valley. Bright guy. Let's see how he does on the high bar.
Jair is a very talented, stylish performer. We've missed him for about the last 3 years on the U.S. men's team because he's had some untimely injuries. He was a finalist in the Olympics in Barcelona on the parallel bars. And watch when you see him on the high bar. He has a very elegant swing, smooth lines. Oh! Whoa!
What happened there? Missed the...
I am
That was
shocked.
frightening.
Well, he's going for a combination that's in-bar stalder to a regular stalder with what they call an overgrip. Let's see what happened. That was the in-bar stalder. He was a little too far over here, didn't get his grip readjusted, and whoa! Man, he went flying. And that's flying from about 8-9 feet in the air.
Quite a surprise from the man who won 5 gold medals at the 1991 U.S. Olympic Festival.
Right now, he's in 4th place here. He needs to be consistent. There he goes. That's the way he wanted to do that right from the beginning. Oh, you could tell right through the bottom he was going to miss that second release move. Pitched it out too far. This has been the problem with the U.S. men's team over the last 10 years. They go for some pretty dramatic routines, look good on paper. This looks great on paper. But unfortunately, a huge mistake. Now he's fallen twice. Each mistake cost him a half a point. So he's already lost a point on this routine. That could really hurt his chances here, and the U.S. team needs him as they head into these World Championships. See if he can regroup and get through the rest of this exercise. This is the first of 6 rotations, so he has time to make it up, but that's going to hurt him a lot. And now he puts his hands down on the dismount. Actually, this is the second rotation of 6, so that hurts him a great deal.
Well, Jair Lynch will certainly be expected to do better in the next couple of rotations. Hi, everybody. I'm John Neighbor, and welcome to our coverage of this McDonald's World Team Championships. This meet is the final closing of the process that will select the U.S. squad that will represent the Americans at the World Championships in Japan later this year. And Bart Connor, you know how important it is for the U.S. team to have a good squad representing them at the World Trials.
That's right, John. This is a critical time for the U.S. men's program because only the top 12 teams at this month's World Championships actually qualify to the Olympics in Atlanta. Even though the United States is hosting the games, they're not necessarily automatically qualified. So the U.S. program will have to select a consistent team here if they hope to qualify for those games.
Who will the Americans have to rely on?
Well, obviously, as we saw, John Roethlisberger, he's just a machine. In many ways, he's kind of the Cal Ripken of the U.S. men's program. He always shows up, he's ready to play, and he is certainly the base of that program. Jair Lynch, as we just saw, is an extremely talented young gymnast, along with Mihai Baju. But those guys add to the look of the team, but they're going to have to be consistent if the U.S. hopes to do well internationally.
The consistency at the U.S. squad will certainly be determined by the athletes who just barely make the team. 6 athletes will be competing in each apparatus. 7 will be entered officially. And so to make that particular squad, you have to do well here. For more on that, we're pleased to welcome to our broadcast team Kurt Thomas, the first American male to win a gold at World Championship competition. And Kurt has a story about the athletes who are on the bubble.
Well, John, I spoke to 3 of those guys on the bubble earlier, Steve McCain, Kip Simons, and John McCready, all of whom have a chance of making this team. They all feel like they've really held back in compulsories. They all feel like now's the time to let it all hang out and go hard for optionals, and that's what's going to get them on the team.
Well, we'll be back with more action as the athletes advance to the 3rd rotation of the optionals here at the 1995 McDonald's World Team Trials. Stay with us.
She's 13 years old, and she spends...
Official break of the Olympic Games. And by York Heating and Air Conditioning and your local York dealer, the doctor of home comfort. Welcome back, everybody. John Neighbor along with Bart Connor and Kurt Thomas as we're joining the McDonald's World Team Trials now in the 3rd of 6 rotations here on the UT campus in Austin, Texas. We take a look at our standings after the first 2 rotations of optional performance. Roethlisberger still leads. Jair Lynch in 4th place with 110.4 his score. And this is the results at the national championships a few weeks back. 40% of those scores count towards the overall total that will select the U.S. squad competing at the World Championships. And now, with the 4 rotations remaining and the weighted scores already calculated, you notice Jair Lynch has dropped to 7th place on the basis of a 7.55 mark he earned on the high bar after he dropped off the apparatus twice. Chris Waller jumps up to 8th place, and if he finishes there, he'll be an alternate to travel to the World Championships. Bart, the selection process, though, is pretty complicated.
It is complicated. We're going to try and simplify it here. 40% of the scores from the national championships a few weeks ago in New Orleans count towards their total effort. 60% of the scores from here at these trials are added together, and that is their score. Now, the gymnasts will be ranked 1 to 7. All 7 members will be actually the competing team. The 8th gymnast will be the alternate and invited in case there's an injury. But actually, the process is even more complicated than that, but it takes about 5 minutes to explain. We thought we'd be better off just showing you some gymnastics and keeping people updated as the meet develops.
A fine idea. And one of the great athletes to watch here, John Roethlisberger, earned a 9.8 on his high bar routine earlier. Now he's getting ready for a beautiful floor routine, an event that he's very fond of. It's his favorite.
John is a very powerful tumbler. He's going to open up with a double twisting, double back somersault. He's been nursing an ankle injury, and it's good to see that he's got his full difficulty back in his routines. He did it in the warm-up and just nailed it. 7 years on the national team. Nice. Boy, that is world class. Right on the edge, and I don't believe he went out of bounds. No, he stayed in.
But he looked. He looked to see where his ankle was. I don't even understand physiologically how you can do 4 somersaults in a perfect straight position like that.
Yeah, even many of us who competed for many years find it just impossible to believe what the gymnasts are doing now. The level of difficulty in the routine.
Seems like it escalates every year.
It does. The equipment gets better. The mat is springier. Coaching techniques get a little bit better. The floor exercise routine lasts between 50 and 70 seconds. The gymnasts have to cover the entire area, as John is doing.
Too, wasn't it?
His father, Fred Roethlisberger, you might be able to hear him in the background.
Don't even get nervous when John performs because you just expect him to hit. He's just there mentally and physically every time. Just can't say enough about how impressed we are with his contributions to the U.S. team. This is a very complicated opening tumbling run. 2 flips and 2 twists in the tucked position. That's a lot to crank. Very high, clean landing. The last pass is a double back with a full twist. A lot of these gymnasts use it in their opening run. Nice technique, so high, doesn't even have to grab his knees because he has enough rotation and enough power.
Great routine by John Roethlisberger. We'll come back with you with his score, but first let's go over to the parallel bars. Kip Simons turns 23 in a couple of days.
I really like this kid. He is terrific. He and Blaine Wilson are 2 gymnasts from Ohio State that are coached by Peter Corman, who is now the Olympic coach as well. And they've really fine-tuned their strengths and I believe minimized their weaknesses. I think they're really well coached.
Now, Kip begins the rotation in 4th place, so he's one of the heavyweights we should rely on. The score for Roethlisberger at 9.475.
Nice finish for Kip Simons. I believe he has an important role on the U.S. team. As we opened the show, we talked about the importance of them being consistent. He's so strong, he can muscle anything out. Just like Blaine Wilson, his teammate, I believe that they have an important role for the U.S. program in hitting routines. That's been a problem for the last several years, is inconsistency in major international meets. They need a guy like Kip Simons on that team.
Way to get through, way to get through. Exactly.
You can hear the comments from the other athletes. Just completing the routine without mistake is now considered a solid performance. We'll give you his score when we return. Action continues here in the 3rd rotation. The World Team Trials. Stay with us.
You've got a nice car. You like it. You take care of it. But accidents do happen through no fault of your own. They just happen. Then what? A lot of body shops would like you to be satisfied.
Turned to 9.125. Now on the same apparatus as John McCready, at 20 years of age, is the 2nd to youngest competitor in today's competition. Hails from Los Angeles, California, now is a communications major at the University of Colorado as he trains at the U.S. Olympic Training Center out there.
They have a very well-organized program out there. Ron Brandt and Vitaly Marinic, the former Soviet champion, working with him. I think John really represents the future of U.S. men's gymnastics. He's extremely talented. Very confident, but likable kid.
Right now, he's one of the athletes on the bubble to make this World Championship team.
Up next on floor exercise, Mr. Brian Yee.
Very nice, smooth swing. Oh! Unusual mistake.
Strength or technique
His
error?
arm just buckled. The technique was wrong as he was swinging through the bottom. That was silly. That's a mistake that a young gymnast might make. That's one thing the gymnasts in the United States can't afford is inconsistency. Here's a kid who I believe has a great future, but he's going to need to be more solid. The U.S. team needs more consistent gymnasts. Here's what happens. This is what you call a forward swinging move called a Healy. He's leaning back a little bit too far, and he misjudges the regrasp, and you can see his arms buckle. That'll be a major deduction.
Chris Waller is our next athlete competing over on the still rings. Chris himself, the senior member of this field. So we go from one of the youngest to one of the oldest out of Mount Prospect, Illinois. Went to UCLA before their program was canceled a few years back.
Chris considers himself a professional gymnast in many respects. He's funded by the U.S. Gymnastics training program. That's how he makes his living, is doing gymnastics full-time. He's married, has a new little baby.
Little Alexandra, new to the world this year.
7 years on the national team. Best event was the pommel horse, where he was a finalist at the Olympics. But this is also a good event for him. Good control in the handstand. This is an inverted iron cross. A lot of gymnasts are using this strength combination and a front giant to another inverted iron cross. Oh, he didn't hold the second one long enough. That's going to be a deduction. Judges require the gymnast to hold the strength move 2 seconds. Whoa. Some strange things happening here today. He caught his foot on the ring as he was doing the dismount. You just don't see that.
The score, by the way, over at the parallel bar area for John McCready, an 8.475. Chris Waller's mark is still being awaited.
There's so much pressure on these gymnasts. The final trials are always nerve-wracking because these gymnasts know if they're going to make a name for themselves internationally, they got to be on that team. There's the dismount. He caught the ring strap on a routine dismount for him. Normally he does it very easily. That was a fluky mistake.
I would have thought that would have made him not quite complete the rotation, but it looked like his landing was an over-rotation.
I guess the end result was he ended up piking and then compensating for the lack of rotation because he hit the strap. That was a strange error.
Now,
weird things happen in the final trials. I have to tell you, it's always been that way.
And most importantly for Chris Waller, he was unable to compete at the U.S. Nationals, so he's counting 100% of his world team trial score towards his possible qualifying onto the world team. Consequently, his events here count half as much more than those he's competing against.
Was that clear?
He's started the rotation in 8th place, and if he finishes in 8th, he'll just be the alternate on the team, but that routine will not help him stay there. Interesting story about Chris, the fact that he had heart surgery when he was in high school for a defective aorta, and still to be a world-class competitive athlete in the years that followed. Remarkable. Comes from a family of athletic people. His father, a member of the German national ski team. He has 2 brothers, one of whom was on the U.S. ski team, and one was a stuntman. The score for Chris Waller on rings, an 8.4. That will not help him very much. Next athlete competing on the same apparatus is our runner-up at the U.S. Nationals recently and currently in 2nd place, the 24-year-old, born in Romania, Mihai Baju. Noted for his leap up the rankings a couple of years ago. Currently the 2nd best in the country.
Now this will be interesting because Mihai is such an elegant performer on the pommel horse and the floor and the high bar. This is the event that he struggles with most. He opens with a back-up rise to a strength move. A second strength move. The U.S. team over the last several years has been somewhat weak on the rings in terms of controlling the rings, in terms of doing high-level difficulty strength moves, but as you can see, he really swings nicely. Great body line. Here's the dismount. Nicely done. A little weak on the strength elements in the early part of the routine, but as is his style, the swing moves were just perfect.
Mihai certainly appears pleased with that routine as we watch the swing move.
This is what they call a Yamawaki, invented by the Japanese gymnast. Double front within the rings in a pike position. And notice his body line is always perfect. Toe point, very clean, very elegant. I believe he adds a lot to the U.S. team in terms of look because he looks like some of the great former Soviet gymnasts like Bilazerchev. Great body line and great form.
With that performance, that concludes the third of 6 rotations. We're halfway through the optionals. We'll be back with more in McDonald's World Team Trials after this. On the still rings is still trailing John Roethlisberger, our leader. Remember, the top 7 make the World Team Trials, and our leader, John Roethlisberger, performed a great pommel horse routine moments ago. The man that the U.S. squad was looking to, and take a look at this routine on the pommel horse.
John has a very cleverly designed routine. A couple of unique moves that earn him major bonus points from the judges. We're going to watch for a couple of moves where he reaches from one end of the horse all the way across to the other end. You don't see that very often. He works his way up to the pommel. Now right there, from one end all the way to the other, that's what they call an E move. Very difficult combination. Flares without touching the pommels as he travels across the horse. These routines are so cleverly done that you can see here why he scores well on a routine like that. Smartly done. Clever, very talented gymnast.
And that routine earned him a 9.5. He got the chance to get some comments from his dad as soon as he left the platform. Roethlisberger still seems to be very much in control of the battle.
Really relax and get strong. Okay?
Going on here, no challengers for his title, but somebody who is still on the bubble, John McCready, comes up next as we watch him on the horizontal bar. We saw John earlier on the parallel bars.
Second in the U.S. at the national championships on this event. He has a high-flying routine. This is a good place where he can show off some of his swing elements. Whoa, a little shaky at the beginning, but he covered well. Beautiful form. Notice how high and how clean. Nice style. Watch this dismount. Clean, very pretty, and nailed the landing. That's why I think he's going to be a big factor for the U.S. team in the future. A lot of style, a lot of class. He has routines that'll hold up at the world level.
Is he strong enough to be a big factor at the Olympics next year?
It's possible. He has the talent. I believe if he could get just physically a little bit stronger, he could be a factor in Atlanta. Take a look at the beautiful body line. He just sails this thing way up in the air. Perfect toe point. And he knows how to dart the landing. That's the sign of a mature competitor.
A fine performance. He comes from a Hollywood family, if you will. His father is a producer and director. His mom is an actress. So it's no wonder he wants to please the judges and the crowd. He hopes for a career in the entertainment industry himself. 2 more rotations, he says. Josh Stein, our next competitor, starts the rotation in 6th place. Hails from Stanford University.
Next competitor on vault, Josh Stein.
Third year on the national team. Josh has been 9-3, 9-1-5, 8-7-2-5 was his only low score in the rings. He's been consistent, very quietly sneaking up into significant contention here.
Finished 8th at the U.S. Nationals. He wants to improve on that in order to make the squad.
Not bad. Pretty complicated vault, doing a half onto the horse and a front flip off from the very powerful Stanford program. Coached by Sadao Hamada, they've produced many NCAA champions, and they have a great workout situation out there at Stanford. Watch this vault. He does a round off, and then he's going to turn towards the horse, then push off and do the front somersault. That's a tricky vault. Once again, from overhead, you can just see how much is going on. Half turn, push off, front flip. The only problem with that vault is he landed much too close to the horse, and you'll have a significant deduction because he didn't get any distance.
John McCready earned a 9.5 over on the horizontal bar. We'll give you Josh Stein's scores when we return for more of Rotation 4.
Mike.
Blaine Wilson getting ready now to mount the high bar, and Blaine begins this rotation in third place. One of the big scorers, someone that the U.S. team is counting on.
Blaine has a great routine, very explosive and aggressive. He's part of that dynamic duo from Ohio State along with Kip Simons. Watch him fly over the bar. I believe his energy level and his enthusiasm would be a good asset for the U.S. team. He's always pumped up. Watch this dismount. Nice, huh?
Very intricate.
So solid and so intense. I think the U.S. team could use a guy like that.
What happens to an athlete when his coach is appointed as the head Olympic coach?
Well, I think that's certainly pretty motivational because he thinks he's in a pretty good training environment. Peter Corman has done a great job at Ohio State, but now that he's the Olympic coach, I think he'll make a difference in the program with the U.S. men. Try to get them on track. They really need it badly.
By the way, Josh Stein's score in the vault, as he landed a little short, earned an 8.45.
Once again, he's so quick and so powerful, and you can see how much he fought for the landing. That's a good sign.
So his routine brings to a close rotation number 4. 2 rotations remain as these athletes vie for the 7th spot on the World Championship team. Stay with us. More to come.
Dad, wake up, Dad.
So you might remember, got a real shot in the arm after the 1984 team won Olympic gold in Los Angeles. But like the Lake Placid hockey victory, it's proven to be a difficult cross to bear. Kurt Thomas has more.
John Roethlisberger is the backbone of this year's men's gymnastics team. But with the 1996 Olympics less than a year away, will the United States have a spot in those games?
I've been talking to a lot of the men who know the situation, and I was in Dortmund last year as the coach of, the 9th place team, which, a lot of people think wasn't very good. And I know that it was pretty much what we were capable of. And again, it was in that range of 5th to 10th. As far as qualifying for the Olympics, we've got a problem. I don't think we can be in the top 6 in the World Championships this year. And then there are 7 teams that are going to be between 7th place and 13th place, and we're in that group. And I think those teams are very even. So, yeah, we should definitely qualify, and I believe we will, but, it's not a given.
We got to be in the top 12. And I think we will be in the top 12. I want to go into that meet and say, let's get in the top 6. If you're in the top 6, you're in a stone's throw from a medal, and that's where we need to be. That's where we should be, and that's where I want to have the confidence in the team going in there that we can do that. We hit our stuff, we take care of our business, and we could be right in the game.
So I watched the tape with Casey Bryan a couple of days ago of the World Championships last year, and I think we look a lot better. We look more solid, more strong than last year, and I think we're ready to go and do as well as we did in 1991, top 6.
I don't think there's a fear of not making the Olympics. I think that we have a very strong team. There is a great number of countries that can compare to the United States, but I think last year, we caught a bad draw. There are a lot of difficulties that we had to overcome to place 9th, and I just think that we're going to have a more experienced team, that we're going to send a more experienced team to Japan, and I don't think that we're afraid of not making the Olympics.
This country has just as much talent as any other country in the world. The work ethic is important, and I think that it's in place. There also needs to be direction, and I think that now that we have an Olympic coach that we can move forward with it.
The United States has taken positive steps towards assuring that the men will compete in Atlanta.
We're a lot better than people think we are. We have to be a little more consistent in international events. We've had trouble with that in the past. And I think in Sabai, though, we're going to have a very consistent performance, and our program right now is working well. One of the problems we've had is we've only had a couple of years to work on it. We went through a 10-year period where we really weren't doing progressive things. We've changed that, and we're going to forge ahead.
I feel, as a former athlete and a coach now, that the most important ingredient to anyone's success is to believe in themselves and believe that the miracle can happen. If you don't think it can happen, there's absolutely no way it can. And most of the reason for that is because if you don't believe that it is possible, then there's no way you'd work hard enough for it to come about.
But I think it's a crucial move that USA Gymnastics has picked their Olympic coach 1 year in advance to the Olympics in Atlanta. I think that that is the person who's going to move the direction of gymnastics out of its stagnant state and on to something bigger and better.
Negative criticism has brought the sport of gymnastics under the microscope.
We're clean-cut guys, and we work hard at our sport, and we love our sport. And we don't create controversy. We're not gonna. And as soon as America starts grasping onto those types of athletes, I think, that might be an area that we gain a little limelight. I can't say enough about the girls. I think the girls are tremendous. I look at the girls, and I try to learn from the girls. They're tremendous athletes. They work very, very hard. They work harder than most of the guys out on the floor. And they deserve absolutely everything they get. I admire them. My sister was on the '84 Olympic team, and she's been growing up, she was my idol. She was always my idol. And I just adore the girls. They're tremendous athletes, and in many ways, I try to model myself as much as I can after them. They're machines.
I think we can do good in Atlanta. We need to be positive about what we're doing. We need to have pride in what we're doing. And we need to know that our guys are expected to hit every routine. And we expect that as coaches. It's not something that's left up to chance. They're going to hit their routines in the Olympics. And we're going to make that happen. And if we do that, and if everyone hits their routines, I think we'll all be surprised at our finish.
The problem with men's gymnastics in the recent past has been inconsistency internationally. At this point, we're making some positive steps by sending the team over early, 3 weeks early. We're also bringing in Peter Corman and Tim Daggett as coaches, and I think this will make a real positive impact on the team. Back to you, John.
Thanks, Kurt and Bart. I have to ask you, what else can U.S. Gymnastics be doing to enhance this team's consistency?
Well, John, in my opinion, there's really no excuse why the U.S. program is not producing more internationally. They're reasonably well-funded, and the athletes always said we need money, we need training stipends. They have that now. They have excellent coaching. They have the best facilities in the world. I think the U.S. program is missing a spark. They need what Bella Caroli did for the women's program. I believe we need someone to ignite a spark in the men's program, whether that comes from an athlete or from a coach. Now, Kurt Thomas did it for the U.S. program back in 1978, and I believe that changed the whole look of men's gymnastics in the United States.
Well, that gives us an opportunity. Kurt Thomas, what was it that gave you the idea to provide that spark?
Well, I think we all did it back in 1978. We were more of a team. We were very positive, and we thought we could win. We went into the competition feeling like we could win. And, we wanted to break through, and we wanted to beat the Soviets at that time. But the main ingredient is we believed in ourselves.
Well, we'll see if this particular U.S. squad can take that feeling of faith all the way to Japan, earn a spot at the Olympics, and who knows, surprise might be in store. When we come back, the final two rotations of men's optional gymnastics after this. For his high bar routine, Mihai Baju now in third place. John McCready is in sixth place, and he's the next athlete we'll be watching as we go over to the floor exercise, one of his better events, perhaps. John McCready, the man from Hollywood, now in Colorado Springs.
John is an excellent tumbler, very powerful, very clean. In the last several years, the U.S. men's team has struggled a little bit on the floor exercise. They haven't had the difficulty of tumbling moves like you see from the former Soviets and even the Chinese. But watch this tumbling mount. Very clean. Layout double, nice landing.
Up next on still rings, Brian Yee.
I believe John has a real feel for the polish and the clean lines that are required to score well in gymnastics, especially internationally. Oh, a little shaky there.
The highest score we've seen on floor exercise so far today. Jair Lynch earned a 9.575.
Lynch is having a great day after that opening performance. We saw him fly off the high bar. He's come back very well on the floor and horse. Oh!
Wow.
I can't believe he made that.
That was remarkable, and he knows it. Look at that smile. That was amazing. I thought we were going to see a cracked egg there.
Wow.
No pancake.
I can't believe he stayed on his feet.
The score for Mike Moran on still rings is a 9.475.
Take a look at this tumbling pass here. It's the handspring laid out front with a full. He bends his knees. He really misjudged the timing of the takeoff there. Did a good job at covering it up. The last tumbling pass, this is wild. He's going to do a double twisting back somersault right here. And now watch, he's going to do a punch front, and wow, I cannot believe he flipped like a frog, didn't he?
Cowboy tuck. Keep the knees apart, put your head right between them, and around he went. Well,
he's a talent. Most kids would have landed on their back, but he's a talent. He's going to be okay.
Way to recover, mid-somersault. That looked like the... Okay, just now mounting the parallel bars, Mihai Baju has got to come back from his drop to third place.
Oh, this is going to be a great routine. He can do it here. Look at this. He has such beautiful swing on the parallel bars. Notice he goes slowly. Everything is deliberate, a little loose.
Up next on rings, Casey Ryan.
Boy, he has such beautiful swing. Oh, he was a little off in that exercise. Didn't quite have the rhythm that he normally has. It looked a little panicked.
Over on floor, John McCready earned an 8.95. The next athlete who will be competing on that apparatus is Blaine Wilson, who's done so well and moved up into second place with a good high bar routine. Now let's see what he does on the floor.
He is so pumped up. This is a good example of how explosive and how quick he is. Front layout, front full. Unusual mount sequence. Most gymnasts open with a very difficult tumbling sequence of back moves. That was a front tumbling sequence for his first pass. Flange, press to a hinge.
That's good. That's better than
You hear in the background his coach, Peter Corman, encouraging him along.
Nice flank.
Corman, of course, won the bronze medal on floor exercise at the '76 Olympics, your year, John. The first time the American had won a medal at the Olympics in 42 years. Here's his last tumbling pass. Very quick and explosive. Clever routine, actually. It wasn't the most difficulty, but it was a smartly designed routine. I think it's going to score pretty well.
Blaine Wilson, a good routine on floor exercise. Score for Mihai Baju on parallel bars was an 8.775. We'll have the mark for Blaine Wilson when we return for more coverage. The 1995 McDonald's World Championship Team Trial.
That was good. Nice plan. That was better.
You okay? I don't think I can drive. I think there might be some ligament damage. Oh, come on. Quit being a crybaby. All right, relax. Look, I'm not a crybaby. Do you have any huh? In the glove compartment. Hey, come on. Would you move your...
If he finishes this high.
Nice combination. He's very steady, isn't he? He doesn't seem to panic. Good pike double. Oh, boy, when you're on the bubble, you sure don't want to give up mistakes like that. That's 2 to 3/10 of a point for that step and the bobble on the landing.
So if it were a 9.8, it would have become a 9.5 right there.
Really nice in the air. Good pike position. He pulls it around a little bit too far. Way too far. That's going to be probably 3/10 of a point. All of those guys know that this late in the meet, they cannot afford to have landings like that.
So Josh Stein can put on his sweat jacket, concluding his 5th rotation. As we go over to John Roethlisberger on the still rings, we have a score for Blaine Wilson on floor, a 9.525. Is it more difficult for John to be as good as he is without the competition going on? Without anyone pushing him to be his very best?
Well, it's a good point. He made a silly mistake on the pommel horse in the compulsories here. And it was almost as if he had such a lead, took the intensity out of his performance, which you don't normally see from him.
Now, there's a little delay over on the still rings as a judges' conference is occurring as a result of the performance that precedes John Roethlisberger. Casey Bryan, the athlete who preceded him, is awaiting his official mark. You see, John is deep in thought. There's a lot of pre-event psych, isn't there?
There really is, and I believe John is one of the best on the U.S. team at getting into that tunnel vision, into that focus. I believe his dad, Fred, has helped him a great deal in that capacity. John is a very casual, kind of easygoing guy, but when he shows up at the competition, he's very intense. Not a lot of clowning around.
So we take a look at Roethlisberger's scores in the first 4 rotations. He's waiting for his 5th rotation opportunity.
Which is just what you can expect from John at every competition. Solid routine. 9.8 on the high bar. That was a great performance. He was a little shaky on the parallel bars. We saw him perform there earlier.
Score for Josh Stein now in for parallel bars, a 9.05. So we're all caught up. Let's enjoy John Roethlisberger on the still ring.
Remember, the judges require the gymnast to do a press to a handstand, as you just saw there. They require the gymnast to do several strength moves, like that. It's an inverted iron cross. He's got to be very down low into the ring. Nice combination. John's strength is a certain advantage on the rings because he has always keeping his body in great line. You can see he shook his head there a little bit. He was disappointed that he didn't nail that landing. That was a very, very difficult dismount, but he expects to nail everything.
I can't tell if his father, Fred, is happy or not.
Fred's thinking, well, just check one more off the list.
One more notch in the belt. I've ever seen you look on that. You look like the inverts were your best ever, and you held them easy.
I thought I got into my cross a little high, maybe.
No, you didn't. Oh, well, it was your tops, your shoulders were below the tops of the ring.
You can hear Fred very happy with John's performance there. Impressed with his control. Big finish.
We got to take a look at balls here now, all right? See what we're going to do.
Sorry, hon.
So Roethlisberger quickly having to shake off the effects of that 5th rotation still rings competition. 1 rotation remains here in the optional action of men's gymnastics. Stay with us. More World Team Trials coming up. For Bart Connor and Kurt Thomas witnessing some of America's finest gymnasts performing on the apparatus in an attempt to earn an airplane ticket to Japan, where the World Championships occur later this month. Earlier in the 5th rotation, Brian Yee, we've not seen much of him, but he is definitely a candidate for the World Championship team, turned in a still rings routine that's worthy of note. The 22-year-old out of Houston, Texas. His younger sister, also a competitive gymnast.
He only scored an 8.775 for this particular routine. This is not his best event. I was talking to his coach, Fred Roethlisberger, a little bit earlier. I said, how much of his intensity of the training situation, working out with John Roethlisberger every day, is helping him? And he said, well, it's helping him a great deal. See, this combination is kind of unusual, where he does a twisted ring strap into some of the strength moves. But Fred said his problem with Brian is he's such a nice guy. He's almost too nice of a guy. He wished that he were a little more focused and a little more interested in beating people. He wants to be a great gymnast, but Fred's hoping to draw a little bit more of the competitor out of him, that he can help the U.S. team in a great way.
Well, Brian Yee's marks there, an 8.775, moved him up a little bit. Who knows? He might make a World Championship team. We'll be back to find out as the 6th rotation action continues after this. Wilson and Mihai Baju still in the top 3 positions, but the battle to make the team is occurring in the 5th, 6th, and 7th position. John McCready right now in 6th place needs a solid routine to close out his performance and make the trip to Japan.
He's had a pretty good day. This is his favorite event and one of his best events.
Your next competitor, John
Good position to
McCready.
be in to have a strong one at the end.
On vault, Mike
Pommel
Moran
horse
scored a
to the men is
9.4.
like the balance beam is to the women. It's so easy to fall off this event. Very nerve-wracking. Nice opening combination, always in trouble a little bit. He's laboring through all of these circles. Good for him, he kept the rhythm moving.
Is it difficult to change pace once you're in the middle of a routine?
Well, if you bump the horse, oh yeah, he's bumping the horse. But he's gutting through this routine. I gotta hand it to him for a young man. Oh,
He's out of strength.
that was terrible finish. Just ran out of gas at the end. Oh, he knows it.
Score for Mark Ruth on horizontal bar.
So his favorite event turns out to be a shocker.
This is going to be very close with all these gymnasts on the bubble. You can see he's doing some relatively difficult combinations. As he gets around to the end, he's supposed to go up to the handstand. He's just too weak. Tries to go up, out of position, and can't muscle it. A Kip Simons or a Blaine Wilson, they would just lever it right up there. He needs to make it on technique, not on muscle, and he just didn't have enough muscle.
His toe touched the horse twice.
Yeah,
Is that two
major
deductions or just one?
Major deductions, two.
He gets it both times. Well, it's interesting. John McCready, a scrapper, is certainly one of the athletes to be watched in the coming years. Will he make this World Championship team? That remains to be seen.
Well, I tell you, if he would have made a clean routine there, I would have said he was a lock. But now it's going to be close with all of these guys at 5, 6, 7, 8th place.
Casey Bryan.
Josh Stein in 7th place. Steve McCain in 8th place. All of these athletes a chance to move up. This is Blaine Wilson getting ready to mount the horse. Blaine currently runner-up on this ranking.
So happy for this young man. He really is coming into his own. Very intense, very focused. Peter Foreman, his coach, says he gets nervous sometimes because of his intensity. Sometimes he overdoes stuff.
Interesting haircut, and I should note that's one of his hobbies. He likes to cut hair.
He says he likes dancing and cutting hair. I wonder if he does those at the same time.
Not on me, he doesn't. I like those scissors long and away from my ears. Of course, he is waiting now for the score to be given for McCready's performance on the pommel horse. And perhaps it's getting slightly more difficult to hold on to that competitive edge. A low score for McCready. 7.725, the mark for him, and that could easily drop him well out, not even the alternate spot.
Devastating
low
for
score.
this young man who was a lock to make this team coming into this rotation. That's what's so scary about the final trials.
Maybe pommel horse will not be McCready's favorite event much longer.
Let's see if Blaine can muscle his way through this routine. He's aggressive. Notice how quickly he swings. Oh, man, is he strong. He was totally off on that move and just muscled it back into position. So impressed. Now, notice how easily he went up to handstand. How strong he is. So impressed with how much he has improved since last year, even at the Goodwill Games, where he was a member of that team. Boy, that was a good finish. Great meet for that young man.
Well, Blaine Wilson, who earned a bronze at the Goodwill Games in 1994, is he heading for the World Championships? We'll find out. Stay with us. 1992 Olympic team. Himself no stranger to World Championship squads. Going to see his final performance, a quick run down the runway. 3 times he's made the World Championship team. Today will be a 4th opportunity.
Vaulting has been a real weakness of the U.S. men's team for the last few years.
Why?
Well, I'm not exactly sure. Let's see how John handles this vault. Not bad. Not bad. Now, here's a good example. He did a vault that was well done, high, clean, good landing. But the maximum value that vault can earn is 9.5. In order to score well internationally, the gymnasts have to do vaults that have 9.8 value to get the big score.
Well, John certainly seems pleased with his vault performance.
Well, I think he's pleased with his overall competition here. Once again, just like a machine, he stepped up and delivered, just like at the national championships. This is a very good-looking vault in the air. Good distance, nice body line. Notice how he lays it out and plants the landing, and those landings sting on those ankles, I can tell you that. The round off onto the horse, laid out backflip with a full twist. Watch how far he lands from the horse. He lands in the zone that tells the judges that there is no deduction from being too close. He does not, however, go far enough to earn bonus points.
Pommel horses are next performance. John jumping up and down. We have a score for Blaine Wilson, a 9.175, and Roethlisberger just now earned a 9.0 for that vault. Kip Simons next up on the pommel horse. As I said moments ago, Blaine Wilson earned a 9.175. Simons begins this rotation in 4th place.
He's really handling this routine. Twice he bumped the horse, but he did not let himself break rhythm. He just muscled it through, kept plugging. That's why he's going to be great for the U.S. team. He's not going to go and make a major deduction after having some silly little hit of the horse or a slight mistake. He can handle it.
A lot going on the floor. The rotation, these 3 squads on 3 different apparatus. Simons getting congratulated by all the team members.
At least twice in the exercise, he got in trouble. Look at this. He's a little out of position there, and yet he's so strong he can just crank it up the handstand and not give away a major deduction. You can see Peter Corman over in the corner, very happy with his 2 boys from Ohio State. They're going to go to the World Championship.
Now, back to the athletes fighting to make the team. Starting the rotation in 7th place is Josh Stein. His final opportunity on the high bar. We've seen some great performances in this rotation. Mihai Baju over on the high bar did something nice earlier, but that'll certainly keep him on the U.S. team. Josh fighting for the chance now. Last opportunity for him to score the points needed, get a trip to Japan.
He must feel a tremendous amount of pressure. He's been on the bubble for the last 2 days at this competition, just hanging in there, consistent and solid. I'm so impressed with how cool he has been. He takes his time, doesn't he? Oh, he's in trouble there, but once again, showing good determination, kind of muscling it through.
The pre-med student wants to be an orthopedic surgeon.
Boy, what a clutch performance. That might make the difference. It's too tough to guess right here. He was in 7th place, as you mentioned. You have to see how the other performers come through. This is a great-looking release move. It's what they call a reverse hex. His body's straight as he goes over the top of the bar, and then he follows it up with a second release, a backflip with a half twist. Nice.
Kip Simons' score on pommel horse came in at a 9.325.
How about this triple? Really nice form. Beautiful position in the air. I like the fact that he didn't hold back in this routine. 2 nice releases and an excellent dismount. A guy that solid and that cool in competition would be very good to have on the U.S. team in Japan.
A lot of poise demonstrated. Jair Lynch on the right, Josh Stein on the left, both Stanford graduates. You see how close the field was the start of the rotation. John McCready, we saw. Josh Stein just now possibly guaranteed an advance over McCready because McCready did so poorly on the pommel.
And you can see what they're doing. They're analyzing the scores because of this complicated qualification procedure to see who made it and who didn't.
Jair Lynch, his teammate, started the rotation in 5th place. A 9.2 for Josh Stein, and that will certainly help him as he'll go by John McCready. Back in the horizontal bar area, Steve McCain, our next competitor. Surprisingly, Cheney Humphrey, who was slated to perform there, having troubles, physical difficulties. He's scratched, and this was an event where Cheney competed at the event finals at the World Championship level. But now Steve McCain, who is in 8th after 5 rotations, he too might go past John McCready.
Well, I sure hope this kid gets his act together. He is one brilliantly talented young gymnast. But in my opinion, his career has been a huge disappointment. He should have delivered much more for the U.S. program, but he's been very inconsistent. He's very quick to give an excuse for why he makes a mistake. And yet, as you'll see on this high bar routine, he has a routine like Trent Demas did in 1992. He has the potential to deliver a medal for the team in the Olympics if he could just get through and be consistent. Watch this combination. Look at that. Well,
there you go.
30 seconds.
If he knows that may knock him off the team. Not necessarily, but it certainly may.
Just another example of really the troubles that he's had. He's been close, and then he dropped to 15th, and he was in 4th, and he dropped to 8th, and he goes for big move. That is a world-class combination that he was going for. A major deduction of a half a point. This is really the kind of gymnast that the U.S. could use on the team in Atlanta. I believe he has the chance to deliver a medal, even a gold medal on an event like the high bar, just like Trent Demas did back in 1992. He's so clean, and he has such an exciting routine here. But to this point, he's been a head case. He has not been able to deliver.
Could he be the spark you were referring to?
I don't believe so. I don't believe so because he cannot follow up. His routines look good on paper, but he's not able to be consistently there. I don't think the guys can count on him. John Roethlisberger might be the spark because John Roethlisberger follows up with what he talks about. That is just an outstanding combination that stalled it to the reverse hex. He just misjudged it.
Ladies and gentlemen, that concludes competition.
Well, Steve McCain sits it out at the end of his 6th rotation performance. We'll be back with more action here at the Frank Irwin Center in Austin, Texas. Stay with us.
Presenting the no-fee Ford.
Look at it now.
Mihai had a big-time routine here on the high bar. Watch how nice and smooth he swings. Beautiful body line, but look for this combination here. One-arm giant to a very high release move. So smooth and so clean. Beautiful form, hitting all the handstands. A little bit shaky there, but watch this. The double over the bar. 3, huh? And he follows it up with a triple. Huge.
You can hear the audience applause rising in a series of crescendos. A beautiful response to a great performance. And Baju, who finished runner-up at the U.S. Nationals, moves up with a great score, a 9.5875 on his final performance. We'll be back with the results in just a moment. The games. And so now with the competition over, we can take a look at the men who will constitute the U.S. World Championship team. John Roethlisberger leads the field. The excitement down in spots 6 and 7. Josh Stein and John McCready just able to make the U.S. team. And Bart Connor, we have to think back at this competition we've seen today. What stands out most in your mind?
Well, certainly I think there were some great performances. The only huge disappointment was right there at the end when Steve McCain from UCLA fell off the high bar. Here's a brilliantly talented kid who could win a medal for the U.S., but because of that mistake, he's not going to go to Japan.
And the two that are also made mistakes, but it didn't seem to hurt them quite as much. John McCready and Josh Stein are with our own Kurt Thomas.
First of all, guys, congratulations making your first world team. It had to be crazy out there. Back on the bubble, both of you guys going back and forth. What does it feel like?
For me, it was a real struggle. I mean, I didn't have a very good day, and I was really amazed that I was still here. And when you told me, I was ecstatic, so I'm still in awe.
First few events for me were up and down. Started great. Palm horse was a little rough, but after vault, I really thought I might be out of it. And was just amazed when I found out I was 6th after the meet.
Were you guys both watching the meet, watching each other, watching the other competitors, or are you just going about your business?
I was kind of going about my business. I was listening to some of the scores, and when I heard I was in 7th, I still couldn't believe I was in 7th. And I was, paying attention a little bit, but trying to stay out of it as much as possible.
And then what happened after Pommel Horse?
almost I was sure I was out of it. I couldn't believe it. I was already mad, and and then when you told me, it was just I was amazed. Just thank the computer scoring.
When I told you you had made it, you had like a little tear in your eye. What did that feel like at that moment?
It was just amazing because everything you work for to this day comes true, and to make your first world team is a big experience, and it's a good challenge, and it's a great thing to finally accomplish. And you're working for it your whole life, and then you finally make it. It's like, wow, I can really do it.
Josh, your consistency, you've been real consistent in the past couple of years. Did you think that would help you here?
Yes, I was hoping that'd be my strength today. I had a fairly good meet yesterday, and I was in excellent position. And I knew that if I just competed like I have in the past, I'd hold my position and possibly move up. So I was really banking on that today, and unfortunately it was a little rough. But overall, my consistency still paid off.
Both of you guys looking forward to World Championships. What do we need to do as a team, collectively?
We all got to stay together and really support each other, and we have to hit routines. I think if we have a lot of talent, if we hit routines, I think we can do very well.
What are you going to do personally in the next 3 weeks to get yourself ready?
For me, I think it's a lot of mental preparation. I know that the physical part is there, and I know what to do in the competition. I just have to make sure myself that I'm not going to be nervous when I'm there, and I know exactly what's going to be going on in my head.
All right, well, congratulations, guys. Go get them. Let's qualify for Worlds. Back to you, John.
Go get them, guys, indeed. And Bart Conner, I have to ask this question. On the basis of the performances we've seen today, can this U.S. team earn an Olympic berth next year?
Well, as you know, John, the U.S. men have struggled somewhere between 7th and 11th in the world over the last 10 years. I believe they'd have to have a disastrous performance in Japan to not qualify in the top 10 to make it to the Olympics in Atlanta. And one of the reasons I think they're going to have a good routine, a good performance over there, is because of the new head coach, and that's Peter Corman. He really knows how to get the best out of his guys, and I believe he'll be a key and maybe the spark that the U.S. men need.
Well, that spark is something we look forward to seeing when they go to Japan. That event, of course, early in October in Sabae. Exciting competition overall. Let's go back to our own Kurt Thomas, who's got the top athlete here as well as the top coach.
That's right. I'm here with the champion, Olympic coach Peter Corman. First of all, your dad said you weren't feeling well this afternoon before the competition. You should always feel ill like that.
Well, I was feeling real bad. My arms were feeling weak, and actually I buckled a little bit on my first event, parallel bars, but I got things going, and I was pretty pleased with how it turned out.
You looked really tired when you got done with each routine, but was that relief? Or, I mean, your routines look great, but was that relief on your part?
A lot of it was, yeah. I was definitely tired after parallel bars. After that, I got it going a little bit. I got a little bit excited after high bar, and after that, everything felt pretty good.
Still, I mean, I think I saw one step on and one dismount. Why are you so solid?
We train really hard at Minnesota. We have a great program, a great support system, great coaching, and we just do a lot of routines. It's like we try to make it real simple, like laying bricks. You just put one brick on top of the other one, and it's no big deal. You just go to work, and that's the bottom line, and that's what we try to think about.
Peter, what do you think of this guy?
I think he's great. I think I saw a high bar routine that could win a medal in the Olympics. He's a very flashy gymnast, and I think he's going to do a great job in Sabai.
Well, that reminds me, what are your goals over there, guys?
Well, we have a great team. We have a young team, though. We have 4 guys who have never been in a World or Olympic Championships. But we have Mihai and Jair Lynch and John to give experience to us, so we're looking forward to it. Young guys, they're really hungry, they're really aggressive, they're going to hit a lot of routines, and we're going to get good leadership from our experienced guys.
Well, it's great to see you in there, for one thing. You've been there. You got us started back in '76. I think you can rub off a little bit on them. What about you? Can you help these guys?
Well, I'm going to try. I'm going to try to teach them to not make the same mistakes that I made the first time I went to a World Championships or an Olympic Games. And hopefully it'll help them. I just want to go over there and be a team, just compete as a team, hit our sets, not worry about where we're placing, what the other teams are doing, and if we do that, everything else will take care of itself.
All right, guys. Well, congratulations. Let's go at them.
All right.
Back to you up there, John.
Thanks so much, Kurt. Well, it's been exciting here at the McDonald's World Team Trials. As we send this U.S. team on their journey to the World Championships, we wish them well. Thanks for joining us on behalf